This is Story Route Zero, a podcast where friends gather to talk of their travels through the good, the bad, the ugly, the funny, and even the confusing worlds encountered in games. We may not always know where we're going, but that's often half the fun. Do you have a question, comment, concern, or a story of your own? Hit us up on Twitter at storyroute_0. You can email us at storyroute0@gmail.com, and you can find everything we do at storyroute0.com. Let's have a journey. Nothing ruffles the equanimity of his spirit. In the heat of battle, he remains cool. In the midst of catastrophes, he keeps his mind. We admire him as truly great, who in the menacing presence of danger or death retains his self-possession. Such indulgence, betraying no tremor in the writing or in the voice, can compose a poem under impending peril or hum a strain in the face of death. These were known as samurai. Welcome to Story Route Zero, episode 31. My name is Matthew Keel. That was the rapper Ka, was a sample off his album from 2016 called, guess what? Honor Killed the Samurai. This week, it's a game club week. I've got, as always, Jason. How are you, sir?
Doing well. How are you?
I'm doing well. We traded a moose for a couple of massholes. Both returners. First
Yes,
up,
indeed.
Michaela, how are you?
I'm good. It's hanging in. How are you?
I am well. And we've got the man, the myth, the dad joke, Jeff Glasson. How are you?
Oh, yeah, just living that humidity life.
Nice. So this week is Game Club. We're talking about Ghost of Tsushima, but we'll get to that in a second. First, how was everybody's weekend? Oh, yeah, we don't have to do a thumbs up or thumbs down with Moose because he ain't here. So, Michaela, we're going to start with you. How was your weekend?
Busy, long, hot. I had family festivities, albeit socially distanced family festivities, celebrating some birthdays, petting some puppies, and then mostly grinding out this game to get the review for Obelisk done.
Okay. Well, at least you got to pet some puppies.
Yes, I did.
I hope that was fun. Hope the birthdays went well.
Sure.
Sound like me talking about my family. Glasson, how was your weekend?
Weekend was good. Craft beer, Netflix, air conditioning. It was all
Clean
good.
living. Clean living.
Oh, yeah. I actually finished season 2 of, oh, my goodness, Mindhunters.
Mindhunters?
Woo.
Like it was that good, huh?
Yeah. Well, all of a sudden I was going down like the magic thing with Mind Freak, and I'm like, no. So yeah, finished season 2 of that. It's been decent. It's had its ups and downs, I think. The ending of season 2 was interesting. I'm looking forward to season 3. I've heard that it is going to happen, but they just don't know when. And what else? Oh, I watched the Ted Bundy movie, the extremely wicked, shockingly evil and vile thing with Zac Efron as Ted Bundy on Netflix. It's actually a really good movie, and it has
That's what it's called?
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
Extremely wicked, shockingly evil and vile. He plays it. He actually really looks like Ted Bundy, which is kind of scary when you look at actual pictures of Ted Bundy. But
Sure.
And I, interestingly enough, I was like 4 years old, I think, when all that stuff went down. So, obviously don't remember and knowing anything about it when I was 4. But interesting that it happened in my lifetime, and I never really knew much about the, what he did as a serial killer. So it's pretty interesting. And it's a good take on the overall arching story and stuff. So definitely recommend it. It's good. It's got Jim Parsons in there, Sheldon Cooper.
Okay.
He plays a lawyer, not a comedy.
Sure. Objection, Bazinga.
Bazinga. Yeah. So and then so most not very much video games this weekend. I did in the beginning, at least finished the storyline of the game we will be talking about today. But
all this
weekend was good.
That's good. I'm glad. Jason, how's Jersey?
Good. It's still standing somehow. People are throwing bigger and bigger parties. Don't know why.
I feel like Jersey is it's like survives despite its best efforts.
It's like just I don't know. But there was also but there was quite a bit of Netflix. I binge watched season 2 of The Umbrella Academy.
Okay.
Which is fantastic.
I got to go back to season 1. I watched the first couple episodes of season 1 and then got distracted. I need to go back.
Yeah, you need to watch 1 to fully understand 2.
Right.
Excellent show. Even better graphic novel.
Cool.
And then just finished Ghost. Started my next review.
Ooh, what's your next one? Can you tell us or no?
West of Dead.
Oh yes, I'm excited. Excited to read that one.
Ron
Yeah, that's
Perlman's
awesome.
the voice actor, so
Yeah.
I'm already. It already scores bonus points.
Hellboy's in it. We will reverse if it's worse from here.
Yeah.
Not much to report here in terms of weekend because worked Saturday, basically slept Sunday away. The bit of time I spent up on Sunday, we ordered pizza and watched Parks and Rec, which I love that show. So good times had by all. And now I've been honestly, my mind has been racing about this goddamn game because it was my 152nd platinum, and I have some shit to say about it. So what do you say, Jason?
Let's do this.
Let's do it.
Story Round Zero Game Club. Spoiler warning. Hot takes. Bad takes. Much discussion.
That's right. It's Game Club time here on Story Route Zero. We've played a game. We've beat a game. Now let's talk about it.
Samurai. You are a warrior. I can see that. You trained your whole life for this. And you have won battles that lesser men have called unwinnable, yes? But while you were sharpening your sword, do you know how I prepared for today? I learned. I know your language, your traditions, your beliefs, which villages to tame and which to burn. So I'll ask you once again, Samurai. Do you surrender?
PlayStation.
Almost wish we could open the first Wu-Tang album like right after that, where it does the dialogue like Shaolin Shadowboxing in a Wu-Tang sword style. Okay, so Game Club. Is this our fifth or our sixth? It's five. 5. Okay, so this is our fifth one. If you didn't know by that trailer, it is Ghost of Tsushima, developed by Sucker Punch Productions, published by Sony Interactive Entertainment, directed by Nate Fox and Jason Conwell, and produced by Brian Fleming. Its writing team includes Ian Ryan, Liz Albel, Patrick Downs, and Jordan Lemos. It was released a mere 2 weeks ago, July 17th, this year. And its setting is the first Mongol invasion of Japan in the late 13th century, roughly 1274 to 1281, specifically the island of Tsushima. Genre is an open-world third-person stealth action game. And here we are. Let's start, before we get into like the meat of the story and any sort of spoilers. When you guys first started playing this game, like I'm talking like inside of your first 2 to 3 hours, what were your impressions? What did you think? Like what sort of jumped out at you right off the bat? Whoever wants to start, go right ahead.
I'll go. So first of all, super beautiful game, like just ridiculous. I'm on a PS4 Pro on a 4K TV, so it was impressive. And what's funny is I've heard other reviewers say that they weren't impressed with the graphics. I don't know. To me, I thought it was great. I did flip it back and forth between resolution and frame rate and didn't really see too much of a difference, which is weird, versus a game like, say, Rise of the Tomb Raider, where if you favor frame rate on that game, it's like night and day, the difference. But just the level of detail and just the world is just insane. The different biomes that they kind of included on the island and so forth. But yeah, just first thing that hit me was just the graphics and the character models and stuff like that. Really high quality.
Okay. Michaela, you wrote the review for Obelisk. What were your first impressions?
Actually, my number one thing that I put as to why I like this game was the world. That was the thing that immediately hit me. I'm actually naturally adverse to open world games. I prefer linear games. Play a lot of JRPGs, you might have noticed. But
I'm sorry, what? You like JRPG? No, get right out of
time. Once in a while, I play a few. And so open world games generally give me pause, but as soon as I got in this and I saw the way that exploration works, and this goes back to even the State of Play trailer that we got, a month and a half ago, the way the guiding wind works, and the way that, sound gives you clues on where to go and stuff like that immediately. It was like, this is how you do exploration without having a HUD in front of it, so you can experience that really beautiful world without the immersion breaking, like things that you usually see in the corners of the screen. So immediately I recognized that just the way the world design feeds into the gameplay was going to be incredibly satisfying. And so I just actually, even within the first few hours, wasn't pursuing the main storyline, which is so not like me. I usually will pursue the main storyline and like minimize my interaction with side content, especially at the beginning of the game, and then I'll get more into it later in the game. Not the case. I was just going wherever literally the wind took me because it was just all exploration. I didn't really delineate between main and side quest. It was just all world.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Sounds like in a recent episode of this podcast, we actually lost it because of audio issues, but that is exactly what Jason and Moose were talking about. Like Jason said, he was 13 hours in before he got to like the first mission or something like that. Is that about right, Jay?
Yeah, about that.
I mean, this is Mr. Feather in his cap. I beat The Witcher 3 in 28 hours. And 13 hours into a significantly shorter game, he's like, yeah, I'm this is cool.
Yeah, it blew me away how good it looked. And that's really not something I care. Not that I don't care for, but it just was like constantly stopping. Like anytime I climbed a mountain, I stopped on a ledge to look out. Like I was just amazed by how far you can see out. It just everything looked unbelievable. Just yeah. Even after playing The Last of Us, which I thought some of the animation in that was ahead of everything else. This was different in a way. Like I was awestruck. Like the environments were just so more detailed. But yeah, it was just I was like, wow, you could really get lost in this game.
Yep.
Yeah, I had my initial thought. Well, my first thought was I don't know why everyone likes this delayed title card because I don't think it's that good personally. That's just me. But yes, I did think that once you started like moving around the world, I did get lost in just how pretty it is. Now, I've not played Last of Us 2, but I have. I was actually playing Dark Souls 2 earlier today with my buddy Ahmed, and he asked me about Ghost Recon, and I'm like, this is probably the prettiest game on this console that I've played. And he's like, but you've played God of War and Spider-Man. I'm like, I chose my words and I stand by them. I think this game looks better than both of those. Now, if you want to get into if you want to have Ars Technica come in here and do like all the tech specs, that's really not what I'm talking about. I enjoyed looking at this world so much that I rarely got on the horse. I ran everywhere. And that was just because I wanted it to take that little extra time. I wanted to look around. And like Michaela mentioned, using the wind and sound, it reminded me of Breath of the Wild in a lot of ways, because you could put a marker on a map, but it didn't necessarily show up for you in Breath of the Wild. You still had to kind of work your way there, and you kind of had to know where you were going, and you could use landmarks to do that. And very much like Breath of the Wild, every detour you went on took you to something, whether it was something you needed, something that progressed the story, or just a really interesting fight, or an interesting bit of Assassin's Creed Tomb style platforming. There was almost always just a carrot at the end of that stick. Mm-hmm. And I got lost in that pretty quickly. I still pretty much, I think I beelined through Act 1 just so I could stay caught, because I know like Jason and Moose started before I did, so I kind of wanted to just stay caught up. But I found myself just really enjoying looking at this game. So I guess now we'll just start with Act 1. Act 1 is where you find out Lord Shimura has been captured, kept alive by the grandson of Genghis Khan, Khotun Khan, and you got to go save him. You learn that a character named Yuna has pulled you off of the beach and sort of nursed you back to health. And no, I'm not talking about Final Fantasy's Yuna. I'm talking about a way cooler Yuna. I will say it right here.
Oh my God, no, you didn't. Went after my girl.
I don't know anything about Final Fantasy's Yuna, but
But this Yuna was in Battlefront 2 as well. I don't know how she time traveled to 1274 Japan, but the character, no, the voice.
She's clearly force sensitive.
I was, when I first introduced, I'm like, why does this character looks familiar? And I looked it up, and it's like, I was like, oh yeah, she's in Fallen Order.
But so you are set off to go rescue Lord Shimura, and you meet a whole bunch of people along the way. And Act 1 basically ends with you rescuing Lord Shimura. I'm not really going to go through story beats, but we meet Yuna first, and then we meet Masako, or Sensei Ishikawa. And then I think, do we meet Norio before the end of Act 1?
Norio's,
He's Act
you
2?
meet him in 2.
Okay.
Kenji, Act 1.
Kenji.
Oh, God, Kenji. All right, so anybody want to talk about any particular highlights of Act 1 that they got into? The thing that jumped out to me was trying to wrestle with combat. It wasn't like a long wrestling match with the combat. You end up picking it up pretty quickly because it's not very deep. Well, okay, it's not hard to learn. There's some depth to it. It's not the deepest thing. I mean, Michaela, it's not Neo. We can agree.
It's got stances, but it's not Neo.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, and like, I mean, honestly, I felt like the stances were almost like the whose line is it anyway here. Like I didn't feel like they really mattered.
Oh, I disagree. For me,
Okay.
they definitely mattered to me. As soon as I figured out, actually, got the muscle memory and the pattern down. As soon as I see a shield or a spear, flip right into it. Especially if you want to stagger them.
Yeah.
If you're
That makes
not
sense.
in the right stance, then you're basically not doing it. If that's not the way your game's play style is, then it wouldn't really matter. But for most guys, I would try to stagger them and then just go to town on them after they're staggered. But if you want to spend a little bit more time chipping away at them, you don't really need to do that.
Okay.
If you want to kind of do the parrying and riposting and stuff like that. But I'm usually not a parry type player when it comes to stuff like that. I don't recall doing anything like that really much at all in The Witcher. I probably just button mashed in The Witcher, which is why I actually want to go back to it again now to see if my gameplay skills in The Witcher actually are better now as a result of playing this. But I think, I just had a completely separate thing, and I was nervous about the stance because I was thinking that, oh God, their stance is just going to be like Neo, where I'm still confused about how to use stances in Neo. It's like the idea of flipping back and forth between stances while fighting the same enemy doesn't make any sense to me at all. So this kind of pairing a stance with an enemy type made perfect sense to me, and I definitely used it a lot. So.
Yeah, I found myself. I got the like, I think after a couple encounters, I was able to upgrade to like the perfect parry or whatever, and I honestly used that through most of it. Now in Act 2 and Act 3, I started switching because those guys hit a lot harder, and for some reason, spear guys become fucking unblockable in like Act 2 and Act 3.
I found the stagger for spears was stupid. Like that kick had to be like, you couldn't really line it up.
Yeah.
And then you just kicked them, and it, like, I felt the other stances had better staggers for use, but I felt my stance use definitely declined, but not because I didn't care to. I just felt like once I discovered you could chain assassinate through a smoke bomb, I was like, get
game's over.
smoke bomb, chain assassinate, smoke bomb, chain assassinate, done.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I just felt like there were so many other tools, but when I did have to use it, like, I used it if it was like a bonus, like it was like, oh, stagger 3 enemies in stone stance, or stagger a shield guy.
Yeah.
But I definitely used it less. But
assassinate from above.
As someone who's played the third most Neo, I guess, 1, 2, 3. I was like Jeff, I was a little worried because even playing it, I wasn't completely comfortable. And with Neo, you could kind of stay in one stance if you wanted. Like, Michaela taught me tips, like there was a way to one-shot certain guys if you switch to like the high stance. I was worried, but I think the game makes it easier with, like, you hit R2, like now you're in bullet time. So take your time. Like, you could do it like mid-air, like jump off the horse, quickly switch in mid-air, and like, so I thought it it was an easy learning curve. And like Jeff, I'm actually curious to go back to other games that use a parry system to kind of see if because I think I'm definitely better at it with the timing with this
I
game.
have,
So I'm curious
yeah,
now.
slightly different perspective. Again, talking Neo and stances and all this stuff. The way I played Act 1, I very much played with just like the stances melee. I didn't use throwables very much. I focused on getting those like perfect parries and stagger damage. And I actually prioritized upgrading the, wind stance for spears so that I wouldn't even have to worry about parrying or blocking them. It was I think it's the third skill, any unblockable attack. If you're in the right stance and you just attack at the same time as them, you automatically parry them. And that for me was super OP. But something I noticed later in the game, which is what kind of led me to start doing more of like the smoke bombs and more than just using kunai, basically sticky bombs and stuff like that. And being more into the ninja tools, essentially what they give you, was that I found in the later gameplay, after I'd been doing it for 50, 60 hours, the stances to be a little bit restrictive because like you were saying, Neo, you can pretty much get away with one stance or whatever you want. But in this game, the stances really are paired to certain enemy types and they excel against certain enemy types unless you break their defense with a kunai or something first, or you get that perfect parry. But especially if you're in a boss fight, you really need to focus on parrying, staggering, breaking through, and using one or two really defensive stances. So I like that it's paired. I really enjoyed learning the combat. But then later in the game, I kind of missed that Neo freedom of not having to worry about using a certain stance against a certain enemy type and having that fluidity to move between stances whenever I want to.
Preach.
Yeah. I enjoyed the combat thoroughly.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, Act 1, the first 2 hours was really just learning how not to have a lock on. It was like going back to playing Dark Souls 3 in my challenge run days, and learning not to lock onto an enemy. But it completely works in this game. It really wasn't a problem. And once that clicked, all I wanted to do was standoffs and go in loud and not be sneaky and just fight everybody man to man.
That's actually the first point that was the first thing I was going to bring up, like in terms of the story, because like, especially with Yuna's storyline, we could talk about how Jin has the character of a cardboard box because he's not very dynamic of a character. The only thing he does is he tries to, or at least he isn't to me. I'm not going to speak for all of you, but to me, he was not very dynamic of a character. But he's like, but I'm a samurai. I have to not be. And then, but Yuna's like, essentially, she's like, yo, this is kind of fun to do it this way, though. and then you're kind of off to the races. But even though she's teaching you how to like sneak into places and use I mean, it's called ghost stuff here, but it's more, I mean, like we would call that ninjutsu things, I believe. I mean, I think in the context of Neo, we definitely would.
Yes.
But even though I got pretty good at sneaking into bases and using all of that, because, I mean, I've played a few Far Cry games in my time. There was nothing more satisfying than going to the front door of a base, hitting the standoff button, and then everyone just sort of walks out like, okay, I guess we're going to kill this guy, and then you cut them all down. This game is full of just cool hero moments like that. And it was so much fun to do. And then, of course, if you didn't get the standoff button, it was nice to just take your horse, charge into a base, jump off of it, and start stabbing the first thing you see, like, as you land.
I like how you mentioned he didn't, like, Yuna taught him the assassination stuff, and you kind of wrestle with it up through almost the end of the game when you get the poison. Like, they throw in a flashback, like, you don't want to do it, and then, like, oh, I'm only going to use the poison for this, and then I'm done. Like, he definitely wrestled with it, and then it kind of turned the table in trying to explain to his uncle. Like, I thought that was, like, a cool progression. I'll agree he wasn't as dynamic. I think he got more dynamic as a character later,
Mhm.
but I think he was I think once he was against his uncle in thinking, it opened him up a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really appreciate how the ghost gameplay marries into the story. I love it when it's not like an explicit explanation. There's no like monologue about why the gameplay mechanic exists, but I just love the way that the gameplay feeds the narrative and the way that the plot goes over time, starting with Yuna. So Yuna and Lord Shimura are essentially the two opposite like angels on Jin's shoulder in the game, and I just really love the way that they like. We knew it was going to be the ghost and the samurai,
Mhm.
but I didn't anticipate how satisfying that would be in the resolution of the story.
Yeah. But I think I mean, and my one of my major flaws with the game is how none of that really mattered. None of it really mattered in the end. Like, sure, you have the dialogue with Yuna and Jin at the beginning and Jin and Shimura at the end, but ultimately, like I feel like from the company that did the Infamous games, they could have did instead of a blue hero side and a red villain side, you could do a samurai and ghost and sort of trade off and make a different branching path. Of course, that then makes the Platinum 2 playthroughs, and we could get into all of the other things about that. But I feel like they could have gone further with it than they did. So what do you think about the side characters we meet?
Kenji's the best. Kenji needs his own game.
I fucking
Yeah, the least
Kenji.
quest.
I fucking
But the
hated
best.
Kenji. It's like every time Kenji shows up, oh great, this motherfucker's gonna get me into some bullshit.
I love how they actually address the humor for a game that's not supposed to be like funny, like where Jin goes, "You just love putting me inside boxes," and Kenji's like, "But it works." But it works.
Yeah. How did you guys play English audio and all in color? Did anyone try the poorly named Kurosawa mode?
So I started in Kurosawa mode with Japanese voice and English subtitles, and then I might have been Jeff or even Moose pointed out that the game was recorded, at least our version, in English, because I was like, these voices, they were disjointed. Like I'm like, he's not talking, but he's talking. And then when I switched, because I don't know, it broke some immersion for me, so I switched it to just English.
Okay.
Turned the subtitles off, went to full color mode, and stayed with that the whole game.
Yeah,
I did English because of Patrick Gallagher and his performance as as Khotan Khan. He lent his likeness to the game and also obviously his voice. And from the initial trailers, he just killed it. And I did dip into the Japanese because usually with a game like this, like Neo, it was defaulted to English when I got it. And as soon as I heard one of the first like main characters speaking in English, I was like, God, no, shut it up, make it stop. It looks so wrong. I didn't experience that in this.
I just see you looking at the screen going, no!
No, literally, I stood up. I was like, nope, how do I fix it? Make it stop. Nope, that's uncomfortable. He had like a Cockney accent. I'm like, nope, this isn't 21st century London. This is medieval Japan.
Yes.
But in this game, it didn't bother me at all. A lot of the voice performances in English were very, like Jin is like we were just talking about, stoic or muted. They're very grounded. They're not over the top. Kenji might be an exception. But Patrick Gallagher to me was the standout performance of the game.
Okay. I actually played with the Japanese audio. I think it's because I wanted to play in Kurosawa mode for a while, but then I tried it. I'm like, nope, this sucks. Because it's really, I mean, I thought for as good as it looks in color, black and white didn't look that great.
Yeah, in addition to the kind of it looking different, the sound, the sound effects and stuff like that were also altered quite a bit. So, you know, given the fact that the game doesn't have a lock-on mechanism and intentionally, and we could probably talk about that as a separate topic. Let's get your guys' opinion on whether you feel like there should be a lock on or not. But given that there isn't one, I think having the sound be as clear as possible is an advantage. You want to be able to hear things that are around you, especially if you're wearing headphones or if you're, in a surround sound home theater setup.
Sure.
And you don't really get that with the Kurosawa mode. It really just kind of lends itself to making it sound like a old time crackly movie in a way.
Right. But I also, okay, I'm gonna do this now. I think the Kurosawa mode is stupid. Not because it's not because black and white is bad or their audio thing was bad. I think that's a nice touch, but calling it Kurosawa mode is dumb. Kurosawa mode wasn't the only one. Kurosawa was not the only person to make black and white samurai movies. He didn't even invent them. He made a few really fantastic ones. I'm not really going to argue that. He's one of the 5 greatest filmmakers in the history of cinema. There's no one to really argue that. But like that totally discounts it totally discounts like a nation worth of directors and filmmakers. It is really insensitive to me to just call your black and white mode Kurosawa mode. I mean, I'll be honest with you. Yes, Seven Samurai, Rashomon, Throne of Blood, great films. Yojimbo, Sanjuro, great films. But like, Ron's a samurai movie. It's not in black and white. So is Kagemusha. And those are 2 that would probably fit toe-to-toe alongside those, maybe even better. And like that, and then that leads into a whole other slew of problems I have with this game, none of which sort of made the game less fun. It was just something I just noticed constantly. And also, like, the way that they use color in this game, it's completely lost. Like, if you're trying to do any of the mythic tales in Kurosawa mode, good luck.
Yeah.
Those blue flowers don't show, they look like any other flower. The pink chrysanthemums look like just any other flower. And the countering, the parrying system, especially if you have like something you can block versus something you can't block, in black and white, they look the same. So a lot of, I mean, there are probably plenty of people going, oh, that's a nice idea, but then never trying to implement it. And I feel like maybe just turning your beautifully technicolor marvel of a game into a very interesting grayscale with weird audio was probably a bit short-sighted rather than, taking more time or giving that mode something it deserved. Mm-hmm. But that's I derailed us again.
Kenji. He was
fun. Speaking of derailing, Kenji.
You kind of knew it was comic relief, really, because you knew it was just like, what did he do? What did he steal? What do I have to rescue him from? And there's one mission where I'm like, I should just leave him in this cage. Where he's like, we thought it'd be safer in here and the door locked.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, you're stuck.
Yep.
No, Kenji, I enjoyed Kenji.
He's a lovable fuck up, that's for sure.
I like Yuna. I hated Lady Misako at the beginning. I was like, ooh, we caught them. Well, she's probably going to kill them before they speak, so let's move on.
Yep.
It's like, come on.
This got more interesting later. It had a very late payoff. The E3 2018 trailer, the shown off mission is, I think, Lady Masako's 8th out of 9 missions, the one where you fight her under the red tree. It takes a long time for that all to pay off.
Yep, and boy does it pay off though.
Yeah, that was a
Holy
great.
shit.
I think the ending of hers was my favorite, and the ending of Norio's was my least favorite.
I didn't like Norio at all. The whole
I
time.
love Norio.
I
I
liked
didn't mind
him.
him as a
I liked him a lot.
character, but I hate the decision he makes at the end of his quest line. He disappointed me.
Yeah, and that's fair. But like also like just from a character standpoint, I'm like, Norio, you do you. You do what you need to do.
But with Lady Misako, you mentioned the duel. That was one of my favorite scenes where he gives her back this sword. They stand like side by side, and like all of a sudden they get rushed. And I was like, "That's."
And
cool.
then there's like
that was
just
an awesome sequence.
there's like just a cascade of Mongolian fire arrows coming at you from the distance. There are some scenes in this game, y'all. But Kenji and Norio, I don't know if they're direct analogs because it's been a long time since I've seen the movie Hidden Fortress by Guess Who, Akira Kurosawa. But I'm pretty sure the two sidekicks are basically Kenji and Norio. I'm pretty sure. I could be wrong.
Well, I feel like Kenji's character is a not archetype, but you know what I'm talking about. He's a type of character, the sake merchant, the way he even holds his body language. You know he's a scamp.
Well, yeah, but I think but see, fun fact: Hidden Fortress eventually was morphed into the original Star Wars: A New Hope. Like that's where George Lucas got most of his inspiration. And I'm pretty sure Kenji and Norio are pretty dead to rights riffs off of those characters. Mm-hmm. And you're right, they are archetypes in a sense. Like one of them is like, I really want to do good. I really want to be a good boy. And Kenji's like, I'm okay helping people, but I gotta look out for number one. And I mean, I will say Jin's strongest early scenes or early-ish scenes are where he's saying, dude, Kenji, what the hell? But Yuna and her brother Taka, I feel like that's a great relationship. Mm-hmm. I think just listening to those two bicker for a little bit was interesting. And then just the downright, bullheadedness of Lady Misako. Like I latched onto her story first, like more than any others. Like Yuna and particularly Norio grasped me just slightly less. The character I liked the least was Sensei Ishikawa. Mainly because I kept thinking that he was one step away from backstabbing.
Yeah, I could see that.
I'm like,
he makes a lot of bad decisions.
Like, oh man, for being honorable, this man doesn't have a morality compass to save his soul.
I think I ruined his storyline by playing so much before doing the first mission. Because Jeff kept telling me, he's like, oh, with the bow. And I'm like, what are you talking about the bow? I'm like 13 hours in, I don't have the bow. And then I finally did his mission, and it was like his mission, his second mission, his third. And I was like just going, I'm like, okay, this is, what? Like I just was like, okay, enough. Let's just get through these now.
I did that with Yuna. I didn't do Yuna's first side mission, or actually it might have even been a main mission because I was just running around, and I did Ishikawa before I did Yuna. So I was trying to infiltrate places without focused hearing.
I mean, degree of difficulty, Michaela. Like make it tough.
Oh no, I was doing it intentionally. I was playing on extra hard mode.
Yeah, I'm here to get good, y'all.
Although there was definitely one camp where it was like kill 3 enemies without focused hearing. There were some of those. They did do that. They put that in the game.
I messed that up. I messed that up in one camp, but there was enough because I killed 2. And I activated it just to see, and then the mission, I was like, crap.
It starts over the counter.
I'm like, wow. There was enough guys left that I was able to finish it, but I was like, oh, all right. But then I learned as soon as it pops up Mongol territory, if you swiped, it would show you the bonus objective.
Yeah.
Because there was a game I played recently, this year at least, where you wouldn't know the bonus objectives till you got to the camp. or wherever you were going, and it was
Is
just
that
like a
Hunt
lot of
Showdown?
no, I don't know if it
Savage
was.
Planet?
It might have been Savage Planet, maybe.
Okay.
It'll come to me. But I found I would fail the bonus because I wouldn't know till I get there. I was like,
Okay.
oh, all right, well, I can't do that now.
Okay.
But I thought I did like that you can play however you want to in Act One, pretty much. You can do, like I did the blacksmith mission. I started that I went all the way south and basically just worked my way up north.
Okay.
But
I
you
did the
could go
opposite.
right to you can go, there's a main mission right next to you when basically you get free roam.
Mm-hmm.
So it was
Yeah,
nice
like-
that you could kind of do, your only limit was the different acts. Like once you got to a certain point, obviously you couldn't. And like Act 3 was the only one where you couldn't backtrack till you did.
And even that was just for like one mission.
Yeah.
It wasn't even all of Act 3. So I
It
appreciate
was a
that.
little weird. It was kind of
You're still
I don't know if
exiled.
I don't know if it was a continuity error, but like it said you can't travel while exiled.
And you're still
not
exiled.
actually formally like welcomed back. Like you just meet your friends. I don't think that qualifies as not being exiled anymore, but okay.
I think they just couldn't fit it in the map mission thing. Cannot fast travel while exiled and lonely. They just couldn't fit the end.
Probably.
And fast travel while exiled, as long as you're not lonely.
If you have the buddy system, you can fast travel.
Video games.
Well, once you have allies, you can sneak into a sake barrel and get back over the border.
Yeah, Kenji takes you. That's what it is.
Yeah.
That's the
It's Kenji.
canon
You need a
explanation.
Kenji. That was
Kenji's taking you back and forth across the border.
Kenji's your fast travel system. That's how they explained it.
Oh God, I feel like someone's gonna say, "Well, what if Trump built a wall?" No. So with that, before we proceed to Act 2, we haven't really talked about the side stuff. Fox dens, haiku, golden birds, pillars of honor. Are they called Shinto shrines?
Yes.
Yes.
I think? What thoughts?
The haikus suck.
Thank you.
I like the haikus for like the first 2 times, and then I was just like speed picking after that.
Oh yeah, just as soon as I can move to a dot, it didn't even matter. Like I want to go back and look at how bad my haikus are.
Michaela?
I don't know. Felt pretty neutral about the haikus. They were really pretty. They were really freaking pretty.
I mean, the visuals you get while doing them are awesome.
Yeah. I'm very bad at haiku, and the headbands never matched my outfit. So.
Well,
I used 2 headbands throughout the headband of fear.
Oh, I changed a lot because I took so many pictures in photo mode. I'm like, I can't keep wearing the same outfit. I need to keep changing. So,
Well, I like the headband of death. It was that white one with the blood
the
spatter.
white one with the blood, and I like I think it's headband of fear with the black and the red. Yep.
I thought the Sly Cooper headband looked pretty dope. Just saying.
The Oni straw hat, the red straw hat was my favorite.
Oh, the red straw. I used the Wanderer straw hat for a good 90% of my playthrough. That was mine, just because I like the fact that you'd see him running over tall grass and it's just like a lampshade just running across the field. I thought that was funny.
As a whole, though, I did like that the game, if you discovered something and didn't do it, it became a fast travel.
Fast travel, yeah.
Like most games would require you to do something. Like there was a few missions where I'd pass a fox den, and it would appear on the map then that I could go back to if I did or you couldn't do it. So
well, I think even if you had done them, you could travel back. So if like question marks pop up near things you've already done, you could just fast travel to near landmarks. I think.
Quick
birds
question. Can you
suck,
guys hear
too.
any background from my mic right now?
No.
Okay, good.
We didn't hear you yawning just now.
I wasn't yawning. I was trying
it
really
looked
hard
like
not
you
to laugh. My neighbors are doing something upstairs. Needless to say.
What are they doing?
Adult things.
Bow, chicka, bow, bow.
Put the mic up to the ceiling. No, I'm kidding. Get a broom. Get a broom and just...
The foxes didn't mind, although some of the foxes traveled far.
I had one fox glitch. I don't know if you guys had any glitches. I had one box that wouldn't show up while I had a quest open.
Yep, that happened to me multiple times, and then I just went back without.
My only problem with the birds, worst timing award ever. Is, like I'd literally get the option for a standoff. Bird flew in.
You see bird fly by, just like, mother.
Just let it go. It's not going anywhere.
I didn't mind, like, you get distracted, you're going for a mission, bird goes, okay, fine. But it was like, approach the base at the camp, about to do a standoff, bird. Like, there was one in particular, the
it's like that episode of South Park where Uncle Jimbo's like, well, guys, what you gotta do? Bird!
The bridge mission where the nephew is stuck in the middle.
Yep.
I had a bird take me like,
oh yeah,
down. I'm like,
did you leave the nephew on the bridge?
Yeah, he'll be fine. He's got plot armor. It's fine.
No. What was
like
funny?
20 archers.
The bird helped me though. I left the nephew. The bird took me down. I climbed up the other way and just attacked him from behind. Like, oh, all right.
It's a good bird.
It's a good bird.
So my issue, I had a couple issues with the haiku, and I think I told you, Jason. This game is set in 1274, between 1274 and 1281. Haiku didn't exist for like 400 years.
Oh, this game's not historically accurate. They didn't like they favored bows and like mounted archery. They didn't even use katana for the most part in the 13th century.
Right. Yeah, and Nate Fox is on record as saying, I'm grounding this in reality. We want to transport you to 1274 Japan or whatever.
Yeah, they pull forward certain elements of history. It's historically accurate, not to 1274.
Yeah, which is, but still, and then the haikus themselves, while they're haikus insofar as they follow the 5-7-5 rule, but none of them are. They're like, you ever have those magnets that you put on your fridge that were just words and you could just rearrange them into sentences? I mean, when I was in extra school, one of my classmates had them and we rearranged them to the dirtiest things we could think of. Of course, there were no like dirty words, so it was super difficult. But this is basically that for haiku. Yes, dear? Oh, okay, I'll finish your wine. Cheers, Reba. Okay, so, and it immediately had me thinking of a game that I played earlier this year called Kentucky Route Zero, where there are 2, if not 3 sections of that game where you basically create poems out of nothing. Sure, they're not haiku, but like there are multiple options for each line, stanza, pattern, whatever. Clearly I know about poetry. And all of them fit and flow and feel right, no matter which option you use. Whereas here, it's like you have your first 3 options for 5, and you pick one, and it's like at most 50% chance that the next 2 things are going to fit with what you started with. I'm pretty sure you and I talked about this, Jay.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just like, I don't want to say you should have waited, but maybe just try a little harder. I don't know. That's it. It's just,
yeah. I do give him credit for the voice actor for Jin did record every possible combination. Like, yeah. They didn't really. I was like, I'm just doing these for the trophy. Because they don't even benefit you other than attire, but that doesn't even, the headband doesn't do anything for your stats. So it's like, fine, quick pick options. This one, this one, this one. Okay, done. Next.
And I will say, I didn't like that every time I wanted to increase my health bar, I had to look at Jin naked.
Yeah. I did like the part where you
don't get me wrong. He's a beautiful man. Don't get me wrong.
I got sick
of looking at the same ass. I'm just saying.
I made a comment about. I was like, well, Neo is like, oh.
At least you have like a cloth on in Neo.
William just takes his shirt off, and Sucker Punch is like, Jin's stripping.
Bare ass. The first time, so my roommate was away when this game came out, and I started it, And then she came back when I was probably in Act 2. And one of the first things she saw me do was a hot spring. She was like, oh, cool. It's pretty. Oh, my God. What is that?
Ass out for the hot spring. I did the one of the side things that I want to bring the most attention to is the Shinto shrines. Those were amazing.
Yeah.
Now the platforming in this game a little but I did like that every one of those was just a notch above being a rudimentary puzzle. Like there were things sort of leading you down to dead ends. There were things leading you the wrong way, and there were things that there. I mean, thank God there was one that said, "Hey, you don't have a tool to do this one, so don't do this one." Otherwise, I would have been there all day. I probably would still be there right now trying to figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
I did like those a lot.
And there's a good reason to do them, because there's a ton of resources and you get a killer charm at the end.
Yeah.
They're very
I will
rewarding.
say I appreciated that if you fell, you died, and it just reset you. Although there was 2 shrines, I fell, I didn't die, and I was stuck halfway down a mountain, and I'm like, well, what do I do now? I can't get up. And then you die and you're even further down.
I can't even take my clothes off and extend my life bar here. What's going on?
It was just one of those. It's like, oh, now if I jump again, I'm gonna start lower. I'm like, oh. But some of the puzzles were cool, but the platforming, like you said, was a little wonky at times. Like I think I don't know if it was Jeff. I definitely told Moose. It was like when Spider-Man first gets his powers in the movie and he crashes into the side of the building. That's what the graphics felt was.
Yeah.
The weird thing was, for me, just walking across a plank or a fallen tree or a tightrope. He doesn't just step off the thing at the end.
Getting on it.
You have to jump. You have to do
you either jump or you can hit the dodge button and he'll like.
Oh, okay.
You can't just walk off it. Why?
Can we take 30 seconds to talk about Jin can jump from 5 feet in the air, 5 feet 2 inches, dead.
Yeah.
Right? There's no fall distance in this game at all. Gravity is my greatest enemy, and it is deadly in this game.
I mean, it is my greatest enemy in real life and in video games, apparently.
But if you're on top of a tower and you assassinate a guy, you will jump 30 feet across.
30 feet? You'll jump 30 stories.
He cushions your fall. He dies. Yeah. You're fine.
Yes, that's it.
I mean, it's just like you jump off that tall building in Assassin's Creed, you land on your back, but if you're landing in hay, fine.
You're fine.
Video games. So the Act 1 ends with you rescuing Lord Shimura, and he goes to his little camp that is all set up and completely ready for fucking war. And then by this time, I think you've recruited the Straw Hat Samurai or the Straw Hat Ronin.
Act 1, at the end of Act 1 is when he betrays you.
Okay, all right, yeah. And then I was going to say, is that when Ryuzo betrays you?
I knew he was going to betray you. He had crazy eyes the whole time. Couldn't trust him.
It was weird that he was Jin's only friend. I mean, it doesn't not seem like Jin would only have one friend, but it was weird that he only had one friend.
Well,
that was and I love the lantern scene. Like, there was a very epic fight with the lanterns on the water and all that stuff.
That was Kojiro. That was the Mythic Tale.
No, there was lanterns for Ryuzo too.
Really?
You fought him, and I promise. I took pictures.
I'm not really going to argue with you. I took video of my Kojiro.
The Kojiro fight was cool when you go in the cave and there's just
which actually that'll instead of moving on into Act 2, let's talk about the real shining star of this game. Fucking duels. Are they not the best?
So yeah,
Jeff, you're gonna tell me why you don't like him. That's fine.
Well, because
we're all friends here until you fuck this up. No, I'm kidding.
No, I mean, it's similar to a lot of the things in the game that in that like the first one or two were cool. All of them were cool in the fact that they had really cool characters you were dueling against, and each one had some like, you know, kind of cool dialogue line that, you know, kicked off the cinematic to get you into the duel. However, the duel fights themselves, I felt like I won them doing the exact same thing every time. Like there wasn't anything unique about the fights. You could pretty much just like dodge to the left, swipe, wait till he's, you know, swiping you with a blue, parry it, hit him with a heavy, and just rinse and repeat. And then when he's down to like the last bit, you can just hit both bumper buttons and swipe, and he's dead. You know, it's like, I don't know.
Yeah.
It wasn't the patterns. I appreciated the fact that the patterns were pretty easy to identify, because, and this is coming from a person who cannot identify patterns on a boss enemy at all, which is why I can't play like 2D side-scrolling platform jumping games, because like Dead Cells, I can't even beat the first boss in Dead Cells because I can't see what his patterns are.
Sure.
Whereas these bosses, I could actually figure out what the patterns were. Maybe just because there weren't that many, but or they were just more obvious.
Okay.
And nor was I actually needing to like jump and dodge out of the way of him throwing things at me while watching what he's doing. So, but yeah, so I guess I like the cinematic aspect of it and what it added to the game, but I didn't feel like that they were overly challenging.
Oh, I'll one up you on the challenging. I went into a duel with Ghost Dance active and a full resolve bar of 9. I hit a Ghost Dance, 2 of the chain strikes and 3 heavenly strikes, and the boss died. He never took a swing.
Wow.
Like I actually, you know, the forced break in the duel where you both clash.
Yeah,
and
where you
like,
lock.
Yeah, yep.
I hit it during the triple strike. Like it did 2 strikes, clashed, and then finished the strike. Like it actually stopped the fight.
Wow.
But I do agree they weren't challenging. And the Act 3 duels, I thought against the generals, I felt were unnecessary. Like the Mythic Tales and the 5 Ronin, the Straw Hats, I thought those were cool and they were kind of part of the story. But like these generals are like, Jin's obviously a superior swordsman than these. They were pretty fat ass generals.
Yeah.
Come on. Jin's not going to have trouble dispatching.
Yeah,
Although, like, the cinematic, like Jeff said, like, but also, I love how Jin just, like unsheathed the sword, like, slightly. Like, what are you going to pull out your 6-shooter?
I mean, I liked them, and as I was doing them, I'm like, man, these are just the same thing, but there was just something there, like, as someone who plays a lot of the Souls series, the one thing that always bugs me in a lot of those games is repetition, because they kind of throw reality to the wind so they can have room for fantastic and absurd even ideas, and they can sort of fit in the game. Here, I just like knowing that it was sword to sword, and there's only so far you can go with that. And I know that that's probably a little bit more, I don't know if galaxy branding is the right thing here, but it's a bit more like, you know, understanding the gameplay in front of you and the rule set in front of you. But I like that. I also like that as you did more of them, the person you were fighting brought newer moves. Like it wasn't always like, there's that one move where they sort of run at you and it's a blue dot the entire time until they swing, but that you just see the blue dot move, so it takes you a while to figure out when to dodge. You eventually do, especially if you have enough resolve to heal during one of the duels, and you can figure it out. But I still enjoyed them a lot. Like there's a certain gravitas to the way that they shot the cinematic intro and the way that like the the title would show up in kanji, and then it'd be like one of my favorites, Duel Under Falling Water. I mean, that's cool. That statement in itself conjures up not only just that fight, but the idea of a really cool fight. And as someone who, watched a lot of Shaw Brothers Kung Fu movies, like, it's straight out of those.
Yeah, and I like that there's no ghost weapons in the fight.
Yeah.
Other than the scenario I described, it really is just the sword fight. It's only parries. And obviously, the further in the game you got, the easier. Like, once you unlock that where you dodge or unblockable and you stab them. That made it easier as you got. But having no kunai, sticky bombs, and smoke bomb kind of was cool, and it made it like, and I guess they were going for that honorable, you have to defeat them this way.
Yeah. So in dealing in Act 2, I think you meet Norio, which I think I'm in the minority here in liking him. You also, I think you don't wrap up Ishikawa. You wrap up Astori in Act 2. I think you wrap up
Kenji's and Yuna's.
Kenji's and Yuna's, okay.
Because they have three and 4 respectively, whereas Lady Masako and Ishikawa have 9.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
and Norio.
You wrap up their stories, and Yuna's when Yuna decides to stay behind with Taka, and then Taka shows up to help you. Like, sure, I'm pretty sure all of us knew that.
Yeah.
Taka's gonna eat it this time. But I loved how they did that. Not like the fact that Taka died, because I was genuinely sad, because I'm just like, dude, you are Riggs in Lethal Weapon. You are 2 days from retirement. Like, come on, man.
You escaped slavery twice.
Yeah, it's just like, come on. You could have.
Yeah. I told you, Matt, as a whole, Act 2 took a different tone.
Yeah.
Like, Act 1 was kind of just, okay, you need to rescue your uncle. You're pissed the Mongols invaded. It's not really revenge, but you want to drive them out. But Act 2, like, it wasn't just pushing the Mongols out. You had the Yuriko storyline, which was just one of those.
Oh,
like,
shit! Yeah, that's Act 2. I fucking forgot about that.
Like that. Yeah, like you
kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's Act 2. That's some good ass story. That's when you get your armor.
Yeah, that's the last step of before.
Right, that's the last step of the main quest. Before you go do the battle.
I finished. That was one of the only quest lines I finished in a row.
Yeah, there's only 2 of them.
Yeah, but like you could actually leave before you finish the second part of the poison.
Her story was sad.
Yeah,
yeah,
but
you can.
Like,
you can.
You kind of knew where it was going, but it was just like, wow. I wasn't. This kind of took a bit of a downer.
It sets you up for what's coming next.
And then I did feel the way. At first, I was a little annoyed because I knew there was Act 3. There's a third island, but the way they were building Act 2, they're like, where are they gonna go? Like it, and then it's like, oh, talk to your allies. And I've played enough games. Like, you usually talk to your allies before the final fight. Like, yeah. But then,
it's like, hey, we've been Assassin's Creed, but now we're going to be Mass Effect for a second. But we're not going to give you the options.
They did recover, because the way Act 3 starts, like, it's not just this cleanup. Like, you finish Act 2, but then you're broken, and you kind of, that's your redemption. So I'm like, okay, they say, because at first I was worried. I'm like, are they just going to drag out this act for no reason? But they did kind of.
The horse thing got me, if I'm being quite honest. Like, Taka was sad, but when the horse happened, I was like, it's Shadow of the Colossus all over again. God damn it.
What did you guys name your horse? What did you name your horse?
I did the black horse, Sora, so Black Sky.
I knew you were gonna. I knew you were gonna pick Sora. I knew it. I'm not
Me and Jeff-
I'm not like throwing shade. I just knew you would.
Me and Jeff went the same route because it was we had the digital deluxe, and it was like, I have to name it that. I have to take the digital deluxe horse. But I named it Kage.
Kage?
Kage.
That was the same thing.
That's
I
what
named
My
my second
second-
horse Kage.
My
That
second
was
horse
my-
was Nobu.
My second horse was Sora.
But it was funny.
But I don't.
I know you didn't have it. Michaela, did you have the digital deluxe?
No, I did the physical steel.
Okay, so the second horse, you can pick the digital deluxe horse again. So he's back from the dead. But
What's the digital deluxe horse? Is
It
that
was a-
Kage? Or?
No, it's
Or
The
is
names
it
aren't
darker
married to the horses.
Yeah, it's
Oh,
just a
okay.
brown horse. But
with a different saddle. Like it's a specific. But what was it? Oh yeah, this is the second game in a row I've played where my horse died, and it was pretty dramatic.
Mm-hmm.
Shimmer.
While we're talking about animals, how many foxes do you guys make sure you pet?
As many as I can.
I did every one except the ones that would. A few ran off,
Yeah,
They
Yeah,
just
you
they just
bolted.
disappear.
or they would
Yeah,
just.
not all of them stay
Yeah.
to be pet. They're not all good boys.
Yeah, well, there are good
Killed-
boys and then there's the best boys.
I killed every eagle I saw because they pissed me off.
The falcon.
The falcon, rather.
Yeah.
Yeah. Except I was telling them before you got on, one falcon was killed by an enemy archer. I was riding in, and I was like, I want to get a good photo shot. So I skipped the standoff, and I was like, I'm going to do one of the jump critical strikes.
Oh yeah, those are
Um,
the best.
The archer's getting ready. I see it flash red. The eagle flew in front of him, and the eagle dropped. Missed my shot because I was so shocked that I was like, what the hell just happened?
Threw you off your game.
Immediately saved the video clip because I was like, I have to find this now. I need to watch this.
I really appreciate that there's friendly fire on the enemies though in this game because
Oh yeah, that was
Oh,
great.
yeah.
my response to that was my favorite thing was when they accidentally set each other on fire.
Oh yeah. Like mid act 2, you'd hear like 3 or 4 people go Asha, because that's what that was the text that was the speech that I had, and then you just center that guy between you and that arrow and just watch him go up in smoke. It was great. So the Act 2 sections that go places. Let's talk about those because there's Yoriko. Her storyline is the one bit of story that doesn't really come from, as far as I know, watching a Kurosawa movie like most of this does. I found a lot of, I do like Japanese cinema, and one of my favorite directors is Yasujiro Ozu, and her dialogue with Jin throughout this 2 or 3 mission quest line, it is fresh or it's like plucked ideas from Ozu vignettes about older generations dealing with younger generations. And I thought for the cribbing that this game gets shade thrown at it for, I think that this series was actually just beautiful. It reminded me a lot of the movie like Late Spring and Tokyo Story specifically, especially the part where she starts mistaking you for your father and talking about the best day of her life because she felt recognized. She felt like on the same level. She felt like a comrade, which sometimes that's a beautiful thing. And I thought that it was pretty apparent that early on in this quest line that she was not long for this world. But I thought that the denouement to it was 100% beautiful. Any thoughts? Or am I just ranting at this point?
No. I just, like I said, I wasn't expecting that. And tonally, it took the whole act into a different.
Mm-hmm.
Like Act 2 stands apart. Act 1 and 3 are similar. Act 2 just stands apart as far as storytelling.
Well, yeah, because then Shimura drops his little bomb saying, I want you to be my son, be my heir. And then under your breath, you're like, but you don't know all the shit that I've done.
Well, he does. He knows the shit that you've done, but he expects, he accepts that. He's like, okay, you did what you had to do. Never do it again. Don't ever do that again.
Until the end of Act 2, which is my favorite cutscene, where you sneak up 2 blowgun darts and you jump down and just savagely rip that general's head off.
Yeah, that was pretty good.
And you unlock
Lord Shimura like barges in right before, and he's just like, Jen, what did you do?
Yeah. It's pretty, like, that's actually something that comes up a few times in the game. That's the only time with Lord Shimura, but a lot of people are like, you just destroyed those people. They react.
It wasn't even like when you kill the Khan, you do the, like, it's obviously for cinematic purposes. The sword goes through, you stop, head
Just stuck in the wood a little bit.
With that general, though, you cut the head off, you pick it up, and you throw it.
So,
it's like, there.
It's like Bricktop said, they will go through bone like butter.
I think he even screams.
He does. He picks up and goes, take that!
Well, he's fresh off of the Una mission where he just stuck 3 heads on a pole outside of Mongol camp, so it's fine.
That's true. Yeah.
That was actually a cool mission. Not necessarily the staking 3 heads through one, making a kebab.
Oh no, those child slavers fucking deserve that shit. But
no,
still.
Agreed.
It was an interesting mission.
Yeah.
In
fact, let's talk about that mission real quick, because they want you to kill them without being noticed, but one of them's right out in the fucking open.
And you can't kill the guards. But you can't kill the guards.
You can't kill the guards, but like, you sneak up and you kill this guy, and all the workers just keep like,
yeah, the workers don't care.
No day at the office, y'all. This is what we do.
I told Matt my 3rd kill was the one in the field, and the guard all spotted me, and I failed. But the way the game worked, it put me up on the cliff. I was done, and I had to escape. And then I realized you probably could use wind chimes. I guess you would use wind chimes.
I didn't use them. No.
I didn't use them. Yeah, there's just certain paths you could take.
Yeah, I guess it depends, because he was the last one. I went through.
I used them for objectives where I needed to kill someone investigating a wind chime.
I used it for I used it for poisoning the.
Oh yeah, the poison charm. You could make the wind chimes poisonous.
Well, no, I used it for the mission where you poison their drink, so I kept throwing them.
Oh. No, those guys, like, they literally just didn't look slightly to the left, so I walked right around them and poisoned their dinner.
Can we point out we haven't?
He's like standing right behind him, going, "Hey, I'm right here."
Literally, like, the guard is looking like this, and I just went right.
we haven't mentioned it, and I hope every game developer looks at this. When you had a mission, the faster you went, the person you were with following picked up the speed.
Less that.
Because escort quests are the bane of everyone's
or follow or whatever. But
and this game has so many of them, so if they didn't do that, it would have been a head against the wall moment, just like
they would speed up, they would slow down.
There were a couple where you couldn't, but like
Yuriko, but it made sense because she was old and tired.
And Norio, when you kept tracking stuff, you could veer off, and he'd be like, over here.
Yeah, if you left them, they'd be like, Lord Ishikawa, I went to go get, like, flowers or,
are you done?
Like, bamboo or something. Yeah. Like, you have something better to do? I was like, well, yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, there's resources over here, dog.
But it was nice that the game then told you, return to tail area.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 15, 14, 13.
Oh, God.
Oh, shit, the bomb.
Imagine, like, one of them goes, my head will explode if you don't return to this area in 13 seconds. So, Act 2, the end of Act 2 is where you have your final duel with Ryuzo, correct?
Yes. Yeah, you kill him.
Yes. Yep. You kill him there, and then you do a mischief. You do a ghost mischief that pisses off your uncle, and you end up in prison. You end up in prison.
You turn yourself in, basically.
Yeah, you turn yourself in, and then Yuna breaks you free, if I remember correctly.
Kenji.
Oh, is it Kenji? Fucking Kenji. Good on you,
He
Kenji.
tells the guard to go get some sake and brings you out.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
You're right. You're right. No, you meet up with Yuna in
Yeah.
And then video
Yeah,
game
she's
logic.
in where it's all burning and it's a big tree, all that.
Kin. That's Kin Prefecture, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then video game logic. If you stay on the rooftops, nobody can look up.
Oh yeah, no,
Right.
they never
I
look
don't know
up.
about you, but I don't look up in my daily life.
But yeah, no, it was like I said, like it felt like it was the end, but then you're completely broken, you're stripped of your gear, you lose your horse, and then you kind of have to build back up to that.
And I like the way that the end of Act 2 has consequences for Act 3, not just with like your uncle, but like you poisoned the Mongols. Okay, they learned your wolfsbane poison, and now they're using it against you and the people, and they're going to take it to the mainland in their next invasion in Act 3.
Yeah, that was annoying, that warning. You've been poisoned, heal. You've been
Heal.
poisoned, heal.
What?
Yourself.
Or then you get poisoned and set on fire.
Just don't get
because
poisoned
why
in the
not?
first place. Get good.
Uh-huh. And then 3.
And for a second, I thought Moose wasn't on this podcast.
Bloodborne.
Animal Crossing.
Division 2.
All right. Dark Souls 3.
I already said that one.
And then 3, you kind of build up your forces to attack again.
Mhm.
And 3 is
So-
the quickest, obviously. You can just
Yes.
kind of.
Yeah. 3 is the quickest, but like if for any of you platinum hunters out there, 3 there's almost nothing taking you off the main path, so you kind of
Right.
have to go looking for stuff.
Yeah, there's like one mythic quest up there, the fire one.
Yeah, the Way of the
I
Flame,
actually-
which is a fucking cool one.
Yeah.
It's a cool. I actually did that after I finished,
Mhm.
which I regret because it would have been cool to use.
Oh, it was awesome in the final boss sequence.
That was a fun. It was.
Oh yeah, getting
Yeah.
Khotan on fire. Oh, fucking great.
Yeah.
The weird thing about that fight was you have the boss meet, or you do the duel. He leaves. I didn't realize he joined the fight. They don't really. You can't tell it's him at first. He just looks
I
like
could
another
tell.
shield. It was at first I was like, oh, this shield guy. I'm like, this shield guy's not going. Oh,
He's not
that's
going
why.
away. Why won't he die?
Why won't the shield guy die?
But
But
was he on Shimura's side or Khan's side?
What?
no. The Khan. After you beat him in the duel, he throws the.
Oh yeah. He just
Thing in
showed.
your
Yeah,
face.
you have to fight him
just-
in the. Yeah.
On the
Then he
boat.
jumps back into the fight with
I'm sitting
all the
here
guys.
thinking the Way of the Flame guy joined. I'm like, what? I don't remember this.
No, the way. Although I failed the Way of the Flame like 4 times because I didn't really get to light the campfires, and I'm trying to make it up the mountain. I keep going. I actually made it to the second bonfire, and I kept dying. I'm like, how the hell do you get up here? And it's like I happened to stop, and it's like light bonfire. I'm like, son of a bitch.
Like it was a long time in to become a Souls game.
Mhm.
Sucker Punch.
But yeah, no, and it was and then we have to ask, as you can see from my background, did you kill your uncle or did you just spare him?
So I spared him. I was actually kind of mad that they did that. Made you choose at the end of the game. I understand, I guess, why, but yeah, I prefer not to do that. To have to make that choice.
I killed him.
You did?
Yep.
I didn't. I spared him because in my mind, it's Ghost of Tsushima. The whole story, you were moving towards the ghost and ignoring the roots that your uncle taught you. So to me, the completion of that character arc was to spare him and walk away and not give in to tradition, which he's the voice of tradition in the game. I might have been overthinking the choice there, but that's why I did what I did. Also, it creates more narrative possibilities in the end game if your uncle's still alive and hunting you. Because to the point you made way at the beginning, Matt, it was about like having more of that like A-B plot side. It almost like the way that the two different choices leaves you in two different camps with two different sets of conditions, it almost feels like the game's ready to be continued with an expansion or something, and I don't know if they're gonna do that or even if I want them to.
Well, I did the same thing you did for the exact same reasons. Like, I had the exact same thought process and everything. Also, like Jeff, I thought it was a dumb idea. I think plot, if you want to talk about narrative and, you know, the changes that Jin goes through over the course of this game, there's no other option than walking away, because, like, you know, this guy said you can only do things a certain way, and you've done nothing but prove him wrong and do things better. And so I spared him, and I understood that I was going to be hunted. I also thought that, like, for plausibility's sake, like, if they try to do an expansion for this, they can't do a Mongol invasion expansion, I don't think. I think they could probably do an Uncle hunting you expansion.
Unless they skip time. There was a second Mongol invasion 7 years later.
Yeah, no, I mean, like, historically, yes, but I think, like, if they're going to try and bring history into this again, like, I feel like it might be too big of an ask.
And I don't know, they haven't said anything, I don't think, about intending to do an expansion.
No.
A lot of these
I almost don't
get
want them
but a
to.
lot don't. Yeah, like God of War didn't get one, and it didn't need one. But Horizon Zero Dawn got one, and it was fantastic. So, and then obviously Spider-Man had packs of DLC. I don't think Death Stranding has any or is going to have any.
I don't think so either.
Days Gone doesn't have any. So a lot of these don't get them, and they don't need them.
I think if we were a year or two ago, DLC would be a lock. I think now, because Sony has a console coming out this year, I think that's probably the one thing keeping DLC from happening. But also, again, I don't know what DLC for this would be, like, unless, you know, I'll throw some ideas out here. Kenji's Drunken Ride, who knows? Yuna's Revenge, who knows? It's just a bunch of ninja stuff. But I don't really think there's like a Frozen Wilds here. I think, like, if they're going to do anything, they'll probably do a new Game Plus, probably a way to reset, like, the duels or the strongholds.
Go Far Cry.
I'd be surprised if there's no new Game Plus. These all get new Game Plus at some point.
Yeah, which is, I mean, and both of those actually would be fine, because doing those specific things are the fun here. I don't think adding new things to find on the map is the right way to go. Yeah, I don't know how an expansion would go here.
Unless it was like the Frozen Wilds, where it's a completely new area, like maybe the mainland or something like that. But again,
but it also almost doesn't make, like, the Frozen Wild made sense in the fact that, like, it's not like God of War, like, it ended. Like, it doesn't make sense to have, like, Frozen Wilds, like, kind of explains that, like, you're still looking for the sword, like, you didn't, like, this whole
well, the end of the base game shows you that it's not dead. You're talking about, that thing's
so
not dead. Frozen Wilds adds a lot about, like, silence, and he's like, this dude's extra sketch.
And Frozen Wilds actually was dynamic in the fact that, depending on when you played it, if you beat the game, he had a different. If you didn't beat the game, he comments on, like, don't you have something better to do? Like, so it kind of and Spider-Man, you could do DLC, you could do thousands of them, because his rogue gallery, like, it's never ending. Like, that doesn't, like, you're not like, oh, world saved, done. There's no more enemies.
Yeah.
But it's almost as much fun as I had, and I talked to Jeff about this. Like, Last of Us wasn't fun to play. It's one of my favorite games, but it wasn't a fun game.
First or second?
Second one.
Second one.
it's not a fun game. You can't say, "Oh, it was so much fun." Like it's not fun. Like
And I don't think they wanted it to really be fun.
Like this though was, even with the deeper Act 2 tonally, it was a fun game. Like there was like taking down a fort. Like, but I'm fine with we're done. Like New Game Plus for people who want to go back, but like I wouldn't feel obligated to. But I feel DLC would just be forced almost.
I would like New Game Plus though to do something with that final decision. Like it influences your New Game Plus. I would like to see that. Like not just the same story over again, something new in there from your decision at the end would kind of justify having it.
I like how your gear changes after the fight with your uncle.
Oh yeah, you show up and
White
wherever,
and
and then you end up in just
Ronin. And you can only wear Ronin attire.
Yeah.
But no, I meant like after I killed him, and then
you
go
get
to
the
the
white.
scene with
Yeah.
Yuna, you're in that white getup, and it's like.
Yeah, you get white. We got red.
Yeah, I got red. Yeah.
It depends on
I
your
got white.
choice. Yeah,
Did
where
you-
where your base camp is and what color your armor is determined by your choice at the end.
Oh.
So if you kill him, you get white, and your camp is I forget where, but and I don't even remember what my camp was called, but it was something depressing, and you get red.
I didn't stick around.
And
long
Yuna's
enough.
dialogue changes.
Yeah. Yeah, because I think she says, "Well, you think your uncle's gonna come after us?"
Yes.
And you're like, "Nah, I don't think he has it in him."
Yep.
Yeah, mine was. She asked if we're gonna go from out to kill more Mongols, and then she kind of parted ways.
Yeah.
I didn't mind the whole. I didn't mind the whole gear changing as you upgraded, although it got annoying. I think it got annoying at the end because I was just upgrading it for the sake of, their upgrades are available, and it was like, ugh.
Yeah.
Why is my gear changed? But I think if they did a sequel or anything, I would have liked to see a charm loadout. There are too many damn charms, and if you change gear, like I would have liked to play around with like Jeff brought it up, the archer gear, the Tayadori. Like it would be cool to either lock in charms to the gear set or just have like different save sets, like because there's a ton of, like you can have an archer set where like 80% of your arrows get refunded.
Yeah.
And like.
Sounds like what Michaela was saying about Neo 2 earlier this year when she was on. How you could save loadouts.
Yes, that is new. It wasn't in Neo. It
wasn't in
2.
it wasn't in Neo 1.
You can save Neo 1 you could save armor sets.
Yeah.
But you couldn't save builds. Like because because Neo makes it very easy to like reset all your like stats and stuff, your levels, your skill trees, etc. But in the original Neo, if you did that, if you wanted to keep that character, you like backed that shit up to the cloud. Yep. Prayed. It was annoying.
Or you did what I did and took a screenshot. That's what I did.
I mean, I will say
there's so much to reset. Even that takes like 20 minutes to fix.
Yeah.
I will say with this though, the charms, not that they didn't matter, but if you had ghost armor on, but all the archer charms, you make use of them.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't like just geared for the set necessarily. Yeah. Like you still benefited. Like it wasn't like you can only use this charm, but
there are different loadouts that are useful in different situations. So it would be nice if you could just click a button and switch between like 3 different sets. Like, oh, I'm doing an archer mission. Oh, I'm doing a stealth mission. You want to change your charms faster than just like, all right, let me see. I have 3 of this charm of resolve.
I had a build towards the end with the ghost armor where my resolve, like it would refund itself. I gained it like 90% faster, so I was constantly getting like ghost dance because I would always refill and do the triple strike and the heavenly strike. I only used the traveler set and the Sakai armor. I used the traveler set.
Really?
I used the Sakai when I had to. I used the Sakai for the trophy.
Yeah,
the trophy. I set for the trophy, and I used the ghost once I got it, and just because having the only 5 kills for the ghost dance was super helpful.
Yeah.
But I used mostly the traveler set.
I used all of them I used the one, it starts with like a K, I think, the one you get from dueling that guy in the cave under the waterfall, the one with the straw on the back.
Kojiro armor set.
Yeah. I used that one a lot just because I liked the way it looked. Like, I was doing a lot of photo mode. So I changed my armor a lot, and I bought a lot of skins for it. And I wasn't necessarily always using it, like, tactfully, like, for battles and stuff like that. Like, when I did Sensei Ishikawa's, I did the Tiriori armor, or whatever it's called, and stuff like that. And I finished the end game because of the 5 kills only for the ghost dance. I used that ghost armor a lot, but also just because it aligned with the story and it seemed right to be wearing the ghost armor for the final sequences. So I definitely switched through them all. And I actually used the Traveler's armor for, like, a lot for the first half of the game and less so for the second half of the game.
Yeah, I used up until you got the Sakai clan armor, I only used the Travelers. And then once I got to the point where I was basically looking for the final mission, because when I beat the game, I was trying to get it, so I beat the game and popped the platinum. I put the Traveler set back on just so I could just unveil so much more of the map.
Mm-hmm.
Jeff, I feel like I've stepped on you a couple times.
No, it's right. I used the Ronin armor quite a bit in the beginning.
It's good for stealth, right? I think that one, that's one of the things it does, and plus melee.
Yep. And then the Gosaku armor, I used that quite a bit for the mid game. Leveled that all the way up. It's pretty powerful after that thing was all the way leveled up. And then the ghost armor towards the back half. And then swapped out Traveler's armor, of course, just to defog the map. But one thing I thought was really cool is that you could basically change the armor anytime you wanted. So even if you were literally just starting a duel, you could literally pause.
Stand off, hang on, let me change my clothes.
And it's instantaneous. And like, hats off to the developers for being able to figure out that magic. Like,
there's some wizardry in how this game loads.
Yeah,
like when you change armor and you're like in the middle of following somebody, but if you just like, you're back on your horse, you changed your outfit, it's totally seamless. And the load times,
nil.
The fast travel is actually fast for the first time ever in a game of this scope.
Yeah.
The load screens, I think, mainly were when you finish the mission and you interact with your horse.
Yeah.
Those seem to take longer. And I think because you couldn't skip cutscenes, those hid any extra.
But I'm even just talking fast travel.
Oh, yeah. It was
nothing. It was, I mean, if you switched from like one end of the island to a different island, yes, it took a little bit longer. But if you traveled from like anywhere from Act 1, point A to B, you didn't even have time to read a tip.
Yeah, or you read one and then you're like, oh, next tip, game.
Yeah. So did you guys see that they right after the game came out, they said the developers had to patch the actual fast travel system because it was too fast.
Yeah.
People were complaining they couldn't even read one tooltip, and so they had to gimp it.
Like, how dare you secretly put an SSD in my PS4 from 7 years ago?
Hang on, I have to get on Reddit. I can't read your tips. Put instruction manual back in games. So that you know what, you reminded me of something we haven't really talked about. At the end of each mission, those little like title cards you would get, and you would be with either a character or your horse. I loved those.
Yeah, like
I thought they were adorable.
On your horse, and you're just hanging out.
Yeah. Or like there was one where you're just you're like standing there, you're like trying to do like a hero pose or whatever, and your horse is like nudging your shoulder. And then he like turns and there's like this silent interaction between Jin and the horse. Like these two are doing like a stand-up comedy type 5 or something.
Yeah, I like not necessarily when you woke up from sleeping and you're like,
yeah, wake up.
Or like there was one of the later missions where you're just sitting in a room just drinking tea.
Yeah.
He drinks a lot. Usually it's not tea.
Oh no, he was drinking tea. Well, yeah, you're right. There was one where there's the one there, he and Yuna basically get drunk.
Well, I had a lot where the title card ending, instead of the horse, it's just him sitting by himself. He's got like 3 gourds. He's like, yep, All right, finish that mission.
It's been that kind of day, guys. So before we get out of here, I've been the only one to really sort of go negative on this game. Do you guys have any? Do you guys have any overwhelming criticisms for this?
Jason?
The man in Jersey, Jason.
It's not an overwhelming criticism. I heard people complain about the camera. I had no issues with the camera, none the lock-in. My only camera issue, and it happened often enough. Some of the standoffs took place in way too high of grass where you couldn't see the extra enemies as they approached.
Or if there was bamboo, or just like unfortunate trees.
And like
unfortunate trees. That's the name. That's the name of my band. Please.
What annoyed me with that was it doesn't matter where you enter. The standoff sets you up for the fight. So I feel like, obviously not a developer, but the game sets you in the position. It doesn't matter where you are. Like you could be crouched behind like a tent. You do a standoff and it moves you itself. So that was my only. Whenever that happened, I'm like, oh, I'm just gonna, you know what? Forget it. I'll just fail this and just kill them all.
Yeah.
But it was just like.
And that was one of them. The camera and the standoffs.
Okay.
The issue is transparency. There's no transparency in this game. So if you get close to a tree or like one of those tent flappy things, the thing doesn't turn transparent when you go through it. It's completely solid.
Yeah.
Because usually when stuff gets close to a camera like that, the camera knows, oh, can't see. They're in a standoff. Maybe they need to see transparent. But this game doesn't do that.
Yeah, when you enter the tent and the rare time an enemy was there, you'd see the assassinate button, but you were too late and they saw you and you're like, all right.
Now everybody knows I'm here. So that was
hi guys.
Yeah, another one of my criticisms we touched on earlier was the traversal was a little awkward, especially just trying to walk off of something. It was like he would literally stand at the edge of it and be like,
running in place, getting this cardio in.
Just go. He was doing like a little dance, like he had to pee, and I'm like, just get off the rope, just go.
I don't know if you guys experienced like any crazy bugs, but listening to the most recent episode of What's Good Games, and Andrew and Renee like supposedly experienced ridiculous bugs that were like not game breaking, but they were just like experience breaking. In that she had experience where quite frequently Jin's arms would get locked to his body, like at his sides, but his hands would still be able to move. So it's like
T-Rex.
So he's Rayman.
And so it spawned like this skin flute meme because he basically with his arms locked.
Really?
That's what they called it, because his arms are locked at his sides, his wrists could move, and then you swipe the pad left. He pulls the flute out, which is now down near his crotch, and he's moving his hands up and down. So it's try pulling out the bow and arrow when you're with your arms at your side, and it does some strange things.
What are you pulling out in video games, sir?
There is a flute.
Matt became the ghost once. I watched him on Twitch walk through a set of stairs.
Yeah.
There was some problem with step mapping, especially with other characters, not just Jin. Like their feet, like if you were walking up a hill or stairs with somebody, I just watched their feet go right through that shit. They weren't actually mapped to the stairs. But I did have two other complaints.
Okay.
Number one is a very common complaint to most video games, and almost all of them that include stealth. The enemy AI is very, very, very stupid. Very stupid. Yeah. It's like I would shoot a guy in the face and they would run up to the grass where I was hiding, but wouldn't go in the grass. They'd just stand around it like, oh, we must have scared him off. And then they walk back and a new guard would stand directly on top of the dead body of the other guy. And then I'd shoot him in the face and they all come back to the grass and I have not moved and they won't go in the grass.
The mafia
they just
syndrome.
Sweep at the end of the grass like they're going to hit me. And I'm like, no, I'm not standing there. I just wanted them to challenge me, like maybe go into the grass if it's really obvious that the arrow came from there, and push me to find a different hiding spot or something. Like,
Yeah.
smarter AI would be
There's
nice.
a Mafia 3 video where Lincoln whistles, kills a guy, whistles, kills a guy on top of that guy, whistles.
Oh, I stacked
and
bodies because usually in other games, I was playing a little Assassin's Creed before this, and usually they go back to their own posts, but in this game they go to the dead guy's post, and I was like, can you tell that's not safe? He just got shot in the face.
I mean, as someone who found it unbearably hilarious when I first started playing Hitman 2, the year it came out, where I would basically just lure everybody to one section and create a nice little murder closet. Just
In Assassin's Creed, I call it a murder bush.
Yeah,
I like, you put them in a bush.
Yeah, you're stacking bodies above that bush, yet you can still hide in it. Who knew? But yeah, I feel like that is kind of a problem, but I also think that I don't know how to solve that problem either.
Maybe on harder difficulties, the enemy AI gets a little smarter.
Maybe.
Or something like that. I haven't played lethal.
No, I played a predominant amount on hard. I started on medium, but then I moved it up. But I also think that, like, in a game like this, the game is only as actually no, that Dia Lucina's statement kind of falls apart now, because a game is only her statement is a stealth game is only as fun as it is when you go loud.
And I went loud a lot.
Yeah, and like I'm just like, you know what, if you go loud, this game is super fucking fun.
But there are some times where you're required not to go loud, or I like that they make it smart not to go loud when there's hostages, and they will go after the hostages, and then you're like, fuck.
That kunai solves that problem.
Not when there's like, well, if there's like 30 of them and you've maybe picked off the 2 archers at the top of the gate, and then the rest of the camp gets alerted, you have like 12 guys trying to kill the same hostage. It's a problem.
Oh, my strategy, if the red skull popped up, automatic sprint, spam R1, and just hope something hit them.
It didn't matter, because
the spray and pray of kunai.
And speaking of hostages, I freed a lot of hostages without cutting their actual bond. Like, I'd cut up here, and they're still like. I'm
pretty sure I decapitated one, but it still just cut the rope off his
I
hand.
accidentally attacked a few at the beginning because it's weird to have the R2 as the interact button for this game.
Yeah.
Usually interact is a face button, and I accidentally attacked random NPCs. I hit my horse at one point because I tried to mount it with triangle. Not a good idea. I was like, I'm so sorry.
I freed a hostage. As I fell off a level, like through the wall. It was one of the Mongol armor, that quest where you have to get the armor pieces.
Oh yeah.
One was on the second level, facing the stairs. I pushed R2. Now I'm on the first floor, cutting rope of no one, and then it's like, all right then. Well, that made my escape out easier.
Real quick though, my last complaint was an accessibility complaint, and it can only be half a complaint because they did an accessibility patch in week 2 of the release, so a couple days ago.
Yeah.
And it added some more like text size and color options, and it added the accessibility mode, which is slightly different than easy mode, where if an enemy hits you, they stop attacking you for a moment, and they lessen the criteria around like quick timed button presses sequence.
Oh, like for the bamboo breaks,
for the bamboo and probably for the standoffs. I haven't played with it, but there's more that could be done for accessibility. Like you can't remap buttons in this game, and that can be a huge thing for people who are trying a game. So just even if you have sets of button remaps, or I prefer it when games let you set the buttons up how you need to set them up. My friend who I met through streaming, he plays Soulsborne games with one hand, and it's freaking awesome to watch him do it. He played Neo with one hand. Think about that. You guys have played Neo. He played it with one hand, and that's because you can remap the buttons, and he's got his own special controllers and setups and stuff like that.
Breaks my brain. Breaks my brain.
Yep. And the other thing was, so a lock-on is 100,000% not necessary for any of us. But imagine, again, if you're one-handed, you have motor control issues in your hands, something, fingers, it doesn't matter. controlling the buttons for melee attacks, and then also controlling the buttons to use ghost weapons like a smoke bomb or something like that is already requiring a lot of you. But then you also have to manually aim with an analog stick. Again, accessibility mode is the one place that maybe there should be an option for a lock-on in this game if you are trying to make it more accessible to all types of players with all types of needs.
Yeah, the only thing I would say, obviously, it's important. I think it becomes more difficult in this game because of the Terrify feature. I think with the Terrify feature, lock on becomes, if you're locked on and you terrify someone, you're then not.
Only if they run away.
You're not in range. So I think it would be a challenge for the
that might be something they have to adjust for specifically for accessibility mode. Maybe if an enemy gets a certain distance away from you, you lose your lock on or something like that.
Yeah, like I think it's like Last of Us obviously raised the bar so high for accessibility, but
which is great.
I feel like that's a challenge for Sucker Punch because of the way. But I guess if you turn the accessibility on, you could turn off that. Like they terrify, but they stay in place.
They don't run, because there are some that just sit there and poop their pants for a little bit, and then stab them in the stomach.
Which was such a cool thing. Like
they poop their pants, they slide back on the ground, but then they stand up and go, "Yes, I'm back!" And then it's just like
I love that there's a trophy for shooting one in the head when it's running away.
Yeah,
that was great.
Mm-hmm.
That was a good challenge. And I tried to do that a little too early because I didn't really have like much to terrify people with. Sometimes randomly, if I didn't assassinate, it would scare somebody.
Yeah.
I actually did it during, I think, that Lady Masako quest with the red tree part.
Oh, okay.
I did it with
I had jumped from the rafters down. There's 3 guys. I had started to chain assassinate 2, and I let 1 run away.
I found out later if they fall down, they will run later.
Yes, they will. They don't stay down on the ground.
Yeah.
You have to get over there and stab them in the stomach, or they're going to boot. But yeah, so I think there is more that can be done with button remapping and a potential lock-on in the accessibility mode, because that's what it's for, accessibility.
Okay. Anybody else, any negatives?
The game didn't crash on me. It's the first AAA game
How dare.
I've had that did not crash on me in the entire time I played and beat the game. So
you really get that many crashes from AAA games?
I get 1 on the first playthrough. I always get 1.
I only get them from certain publishers,
I
like
only
Ubisoft.
Horizon. It's also because I don't shut the game off. I put it in rest mode. I think because I exited Ghost. Also, Ghost didn't make my PlayStation take off for launch like Last of Us did.
See, now I still don't know what the issue is. Like I streamed, I wanted to stream my entire playthrough of this game. I got most of the way through, but midway through Act 2, it seemed like every time I tried to stream, half of my screen would get completely pixelated. Now, anybody watching me wouldn't see that, but I would, so I could only see half the screen, and it became impossible to work, and I don't know what that was. I ended up basically I pulled my PS4 Pro out of the TV stand just to like keep it from getting overheated, and it would still do it. So I don't know what happened, but it made me angry, and I don't know if that's Sucker Punch's fault. I don't know whose fault that is, but I can't really blame the game for that because the game didn't really, like on the stream, the game was fine. So it had to be something local.
And
I have
also,
a standard PS4, and it was blowing wind, but it was also like 95 degrees out, and I have no air conditioning.
Also, what good came out of Matt streaming, I didn't know Twitch through PlayStation had text-to-speech, which is a little disturbing, but it's hilarious to watch.
Oh, yeah.
I'm typing in chat, and it's reading it to him, and I'm like...
I didn't realize that went over... I thought that just went to me.
Oh, no. I heard it.
I didn't realize that went everywhere. I'm like, and then when you said that, like, like, is that text-to-speech? I'm like, yeah. And you're like, oh.
I'm like, I thought it was, I didn't know if it was on my end, like Twitch had accessibility and they're reading it back to me. I'm like, what is going on?
Yes. Twitch is fun.
But this is a phenomenal game.
Yep.
Yeah. I have my problems with it, but I still really friggin' enjoyed it. I kind of equate it to almost like an album by my favorite band, The Clash, called Sandinista, where there's a lot of problems with it, but the peaks definitely outweigh the valleys. This game's cool, and hey Jeff,
Mm-hmm.
do you have a dumb dad joke you can tell us?
You put me on the spot, man. Well, I did make a comment in a PS4 party the other night that what was the guy's name? Jason Takashi? Yeah. Takashi's Takashi in the game is just his name is just one letter away from being called Take Shit.
Story Route Zero, we have some cool friends who do some cool things, and I'd like to tell you about them. Phoenix Overdrive uses the power of games and gamers to help heal sick kids through the charity Extra Life. Phoenix Overdrive fundraises for Children's Miracle Network hospitals all year, every year, and the fund culminates in a 24-hour gaming marathon. Find out more about their events and projects online via Facebook at facebook.com/Phoenix Overdrive or on Twitter and Instagram at PHX_Overdrive. You can also join the Facebook group of Pawn Stars at facebook.com/groups/PO Nation in order to share and discuss all the latest in nerd culture. They've also got a podcast, Nerd Overdrive, which you can see weekly at youtube.com/Phoenix Overdrive. You can also catch it on Facebook Live or twitch.tv/PHX_Overdrive. That podcast is also published on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, and Stitcher. You want merch? They got merch. Merch can be ordered from tinyurl.com/PHXOD merch, a portion of which goes to their fundraising efforts. Join the nation and be a hero to sick kids, as El Capitan Ray Osorio, Lee the Maestro, and Becky, the lovely queen of the guild, always say, #Rise Above. This has been an episode of Story Route Zero. Thank you for coming along on this journey. We sincerely hope you enjoyed yourself as much as we enjoyed having you. Once again, you can find everything we do at StoryRoute0.com. Hit us up on Twitter at StoryRoute_0, or you can email us at StoryRoute0@gmail.com. If you'd like to hit us up individually anywhere, you can find Moose at Sven, that's SVHENN, everywhere on social media. That's PSN, that's Twitter, that's Instagram. You can also find him on Twitch, streaming games. You can find Jason Marshall at GimpyJ, with 2 Y's at the end. That's Twitter, that's Instagram, that's Twitch, and he also has a website called whereisthepausebutton.com. Captain Canada is the only Story Route Zero exclusive. He's the only one you can only find right here on the show. As for me, I'm Infinite_Rewind everywhere I'd like to be. That's Twitter, that's Instagram, that's PSN, and Twitch. I also have my own website, InfiniteRewind.com, where I do all sorts of weird writing and rambling. Check us out at all the places. And remember, you are always welcome, and you will always have a seat waiting for you on this ride. But for now, it's back to the real world for us. We will see you on the next one.